Welcome back, fellas. Just doing a little follow-up video, a little progress video on this compressor that I'm redoing. So if you've seen the first videos, 10 horsepower, Sullair, was in rough shape, bought it for no money, broke it down, everything cleaned, prepped, all the pieces and parts, everything everywhere. And but I want to make a little video on how I'm going to do the conversion for the motor. It was a 10 horsepower three-phase, and now we're going to a 10 horsepower single phase, same RPM, 1740. But I'm not great with editing or blending videos or whatever. I'm very new to this, so I'm going to try to do this in sections and get some help and blend a bunch of small videos, clips together to make one so you guys can kind of see the process. But I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. So originally, this housing, this shaft that you see sticking out of it, that was the original shaft for the three-phase motor. It ran all the way through the motor, and this is the back half of it, and where it's necked down to the smaller part, that's where there was one more stub on it that I cut off. It was necked down to 5/8, and that's where that fan went. And I just cut it off, that piece off, because I knew I wasn't going to use it, and it made it easier for me to get my puller on it in order to get the bearing out of it, or off of the end of it. So basically, this is what I'm doing. Everything's cleaned, everything's prepped. The bearing you see in there is brand new. The bearings finally came in. They were really all special order. Especially these here. One of them, when I took it apart, was missing a roller. This smaller needle bearing in there, that one was kind of corroded, had moisture in it. So everything's clean, bearings came in, starting to put pieces back together and figure out the conversion for the motor. So like I said, with this shaft being the original motor shaft, it ran through the motor, bolted to the housing. Everything was one solid, rigid, piece put together, and it also ran very true because that's just how they make them. Everything is in line with each other, and it's very accurate and spins true. So for me, going to the conversion and doing the shaft, I had to figure out a couple things here. So new bearing. Took this shaft, it's just tapped in, it's not bottomed out, and really what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out how much room I need for the new motor, and also the platform I'm going to have to build to bring the motor up to get it in line with the shaft. And what I'm ultimately going to end up doing is I kind of been thinking about this a lot, and I wanted to figure out how to carry this end of the shaft where it wasn't just connected to the motor and just had that one connection point, that one bearing in the housing, trying to keep everything, from moving or vibrating or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I cut this shaft off, and I figured out room. The end of the platform ends about here. I need about 15.5 inches for this motor to fit, and that's from the back of the housing all the way to the end of the shaft. And I cut this one back and left a little extra room. But been thinking about it, and what I think I'm going to do is, this is the housing off the back of the original motor. And just like any electric motor, the inside of it had an area for the bearing, which was on this collar right here. And I have the old bearing for reference, but what I'm going to do is, this shaft is going to be connected to that shaft with some sort of coupling, whether it be like I don't know the technical name of it, but it's like a 4-tooth that kind of slip together. They use them on electric motors a lot, or if it's just going to be an actual steel coupling with set screws in it. The connection point I'm not super worried about, but what I wanted to do was make sure that the end of this shaft coming out spun absolutely true. So what I kind of came up with is this housing here. Now that I have this piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a locator like that, and I'm going to get a pillow block with 4 bolts in it that this will ride in and be bolted in this area, 4 bolts. And then I know that this shaft being on the pillow block will be centered with the original housing, kind of like the original motor, just shorter. So that whole, this slug right here is going to index my pillow block for me, and I know it'll be centered. This fits really well in there. There's very little slop in it. So I know that it'll center that pillow block on the back of the housing. This shaft I will end up opening this hole up to, this shaft here is like 162, something like that. So this hole here will get opened up to let this slip through it. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll see if this will come out. Of course it won't. But this housing here, if I can get you in frame, will end up bolting up to the original location on the back of the housing. And what I'll do is I'll just make spacers for the 4 bolt locations, and that will give me a back housing with a pillow block in it, a bearing area in it, so that this shaft runs 100% true from front to back. And then the outside of it will just be the where the connection point is for the motor. Now I know that this shaft is, like I said, 162, so 1.5 inches. I don't know if the 0.62 would be considered like a press fit on a bearing. It might be a little fat, not sure. But I do know that this shaft is 1 3/16 inches. So what I'm going to end up doing is whatever coupling I can get that'll fit the motor, I'll take this here and I'll turn it down in the lathe to accommodate it. Depending on the coupling, I don't know if I'll have to key it, but I can do that also. So I just wanted to make this quick video for anybody that's following along. And it's a bunch of work, and it's not for the average guy. I'm, fortunate enough where I've got a lathe to do some turning, and I've got a small mill, and I've got the capabilities and the time and whatever. Like I said, this isn't really like the average guy would say, oh, I'm going to buy a 3-horse or a 3-phase motor and do all this kind of conversion to go to a single phase and get everything to work. But I'm in the compressor, no money. I'm in the motor, no money. So far, I'm in it about $200 in bearings because they were all kind of a special order, special size. These here were run of the mill, but these here were probably the part of the real pricey part of the bill. And I'll bring you over here and I'll show you the compressor housing itself. So this here is broke down and cleaned up as much as I can get it to clean up. It's had a little corrosion in it, but I think it's gonna work fine. This side here, if I can get you in there, has 2 roller bearings on each one. They're just doubled, one for each shaft, and a second one stacks on top of it, and then it's got a cap that goes on the back of it. So bearings for all that stuff. So yeah, it's moving along. Just another rainy day in the shop. Saturday, like 50 raw. We got a little fire in the box, keeping the chill off. So yeah, just Saturday afternoon, rainy day project. Figure I'd make some progress working on that. A couple other small things. Just did a bunch of wiring work on this here for a guy that I do a bunch of work for, and that's all done. He's coming out about 2 o'clock today to come check it out, look at it. Got to do a few other things on it, but you never know. If you follow my channel, you'll know we always got a bunch going on. The Jimmy got cleaned up on the front end, all washed down, blasted, sprayed out with the satin, inner fenders sprayed out, all the rest of the body panels, progress. About to get into the actual main body and start doing some work on that coming up. And this is all just rainy day work. Like I said, luckily I can still get some stuff done. Got the welder out, just finished doing some work on a dump truck. I don't know if you guys can hear the background noise, but it is absolutely pouring out. So I apologize for any noise on the roof if you can hear it. But like I said, I'm going to try to make a bunch of videos like this and blend them together and kind of show this whole process. And then it'll give you a better idea of how we got from A to B. It's kind of tough to explain, and I figured this is the easiest way to do it. So hope everybody's doing well. Enjoy that weekend. If you're somewhere in the southeast, stay dry, stay in, stay warm, and we'll catch you on the next one when we got a little more progress. So talk to you guys soon. Enjoy.